Hey y'all, and welcome to PolitiBrawl. My name is Brian, and Karoline Leavitt absolutely hits the nail on the head when these reporters ask not only these ridiculous questions, but can't understand the fact that this administration is trying to clean up waste, fraud, and abuse. Let's dive in.
According to an IG report from the Social Security Administration, there's more than $70 billion of fraud in the Social Security program alone that we know of. And so the president will continue to protect these programs for hardworking Americans, and actually cutting the waste, fraud, and abuse out of these programs will protect it for hardworking Americans.
But Caroline, respectfully, he said around $500 to $700 billion. There was no evidence to claim that. And also, if that is the case, that would represent more than a third of what Social Security paid out last year, maybe 20% of Social Security and Medicare.
Again,
combined.
if you read his full quote, he said, "We think," so it's an estimate based on what he's seen. He's not saying definitively, he's saying that's what DOGE suspects and thinks. And that's exactly why DOGE was created, to ensure that we are investigating the fraudulent spending, the wasteful abuse across our federal government. And I would remind everybody in this room that 77% of the American people support this effort by Elon Musk and DOGE to identify such waste, fraud, and abuse.
Caroline.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline.
You're welcome.
If we could just step back for a second. When President Trump last addressed the BRT when he was on the campaign trail, his big push was on tax cuts. He's going there today as he's proposing tax hikes in the form of tariffs. And I'm curious
He's not
for
doing
why
that.
he's prioritizing that over the tax cuts.
He's actually not implementing tax hikes. Tariffs are a tax hike on foreign countries that, again, have been ripping us off. Tariffs are a tax cut for the American people, and the president is a staunch advocate of tax cuts. As you know, he campaigned on no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime, no taxes on Social Security benefits. He is committed to all three of those things, and he expects Congress to pass them later this year.
I'm sorry, have you ever paid a tariff? Because I have.
That's
They
it.
don't get charged on foreign companies, they get charged on the importers.
And ultimately, when we have fair and balanced trade, which the American people have not seen in decades, as I said at the beginning, revenues will stay here, wages will go up, and our country will be made wealthy again. And I think it's insulting that you're trying to test my knowledge of economics and the decisions that this president has made. I'm now regret giving a question to the Associated Press. Mary, go ahead.
Oh man. Of course, everyone regrets giving the Associated Press any time back in the Oval Office. They got kicked out of that ability because they refused to report on the basic news. The United States officially calls it the Gulf of America. The Associated Press has refused to do so. You F around, you find out in that regard. And so, Karoline Leavitt gives them a gracious opportunity to come back and redeem themselves as journalists, and instead of asking a question about tariffs, this reporter decides to go on a little bit of a lecture about what tariffs actually do. I think about 4 years ago, we would have called this mansplaining. Okay? Remember, use the terms of the left against the left. Right now we have a ridiculous straight white male asking questions from the Associated Press, trying to trap this poor woman, Karoline Leavitt, in between a rock and a hard place. Except that's not what actually happens, because Karoline Leavitt actually knows how to get out of this trap, and it's simple. She knows what tariffs do. This reporter doesn't. Okay? Tariffs are not a tax. Okay? They might be an attempt to raise prices on certain goods here and there. That's not a tax by definition. Okay? Definitions might be hard for some people, particularly reporters from mainstream media outlets. So yeah, the Associated Press keeps on getting second chance after second chance, and they keep blowing it. At a certain point, you gotta realize that you need to cut your losses and stop being this ridiculous, particularly when you're finally back into the good graces of the White House, and then you squander it all over again. And so, speaking of squandering things, we're talking earlier in this clip about waste, fraud, and abuse, something that Social Security and Medicare are fraught with. Okay? That's just the sad truth, and it's going to happen. We are a massive country of over 330 million people. There are close to 70 million people who receive Social Security funds, and there are a whole bunch of people, I don't have the number in front of me, that use Medicare. So, yeah, there's going to be problems. It's just going to happen. A good government is going to find those problems and plug the leaks as fast as they can. And a good press would find them faster than the government could. Except the press isn't interested in that. They're interested in talking about, oh, DOGE is going to take away your Social Security. They're going to misuse your Social Security number. They're going to completely gut the system. This is terrible. Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. Every time we talk about trying to reform Social Security, by the way, it never ends well for the Republicans. This time, however, it's a little bit different, because instead of just the Republican Party, it's the whole idea of MAGA, okay? It's the whole idea of DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. So the American people are going to give it a little bit more benefit of the doubt, and it'd be a whole lot easier if the press wasn't trying to take pot shots wherever they could, and instead actually look alongside the feds for waste, fraud, and abuse. And instead, they're getting mad about semantics and about numbers, when the reality is this. Any American receiving Social Security benefits will continue to receive them. The sole mission of DOGE is to identify waste, fraud, and abuse only, White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt said in a statement provided to ABC News on Friday. President Trump and Elon Musk both alluded to the anti-fraud project in a recent public statement, claiming to have already found examples of rampant abuse. So far, so great. We're also identifying shocking levels of incompetence. That shouldn't be shocking, it's government work. And probable fraud in Social Security program for our seniors, Trump said in his speech to Congress on Tuesday. Trump has promised not to cut the program unless evidence of fraud is found. I think that right there sums up the entire issue in a nice little nutshell. Okay, with a nice shiny red bow on top, this is a present to the American people. Hey, we've been misusing your tax dollars that are designed to help you. And instead of having that spent on waste, we're going to start saving that money and start using it to pay down our debt. That sounds like a good style of management for your hard-earned tax dollars. And instead of showing a modicum of praise for the attempt to go in this direction, because we're not there yet, we're 2 months into this process, okay? Rome wasn't built in a day, although it burned down in 3. Anyways, regardless of whether Rome, of how Rome was built, you can start looking at the similarities of how we're trying to reform the system, all right? And instead of the press trying to say, hey, we found it faster than DOGE did, we're better at our jobs, see, why don't you pay attention to us for a change? Instead of doing that, they're trying to take shots wherever they can, trying to muddy the waters, trying to say, well, DOGE didn't go far enough. Oh, okay. That sounds like a challenge to me. I think we can rise up to that challenge now, can't we? That is the sort of mentality we need to have from our press, but we're not getting it. And quite honestly, I'm starting to get sick of it. So no wonder the AP got kicked out of the Oval Office. At this rate, they're going to get kicked out of the entire White House press pool, because instead of asking actual intelligent questions, these reporters want to go off on their own little tirade saying, well, I'm smarter than you, Karoline Leavitt. When the reality is Karoline Leavitt's going to throw that back in their face, and just like any hand grenade held too long, it's going to explode right in their faces. So AP, you're on thin ice, buddy, and it's March. We're not getting much cold weather left. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on PolitiBrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one, and until then, y'all have a good one.